they think it's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry we're late, everybody. Simon learned something new about PowerPoint today.
Well, don't you blame that on me.
At least he's got a picture.
So everyone will realise that their cameras and microphones are turned off. If you wish to ask a question during this session, there is a little raise your hand button at the top of the screen. If you click that, it'll highlight your box like it's doing with mine now. And when it's doing that, I can turn your microphone on so that you can ask a question, and then I will turn it off once your question is answered. Alternatively, if you have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat section. But we will get underway because we're running a little bit late. So welcome everybody to our webinar tonight talking about Discovery Project. And thank you to Simon Worth and Cherie and Mike Berkers for joining us. So Simon Worth, as he says on his slideshow here, is our livestock selection manager with LIC, and Cherie and Mike own the MAH, or the Moovin Aherd herd down in Southland, and have been partaking in Discovery Project for the last, I think it's about 10 years, but Cherie will correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I'm going to hand it over to Simon, and Simon can talk to you guys about the Discovery Project. Thanks, Simon.
No worries. Thank you for that. Okay, Discovery. So what I thought, I haven't got a heap of slides here, guys, so feel free to make it interactive. I thought what I would cover is, hey, what is Discovery? What's the objective? Why did we set this up? Some time ago, actually, and so there is a little bit of history because this thing has morphed over time. Then just touch on the process that we go through in terms of selecting animals to come in to the program. What are some of the benefits? And some of that's it's sitting on the website at Holstein Friesian. And then touch on some of the results to date. And then we can pass over for the really interesting stuff to Cherie and Michael. So, hey, when we set this up, and it's 20 years ago, which is, yeah, in terms of longevity, it's been an awesome project. And I guess, you know, from the outset, certainly appreciate the relationship with Holstein Friesian New Zealand, and, you know, and the parties that we've worked with all the way through that period. I think once we get to the results, you can kind of see, hey, we are creating progress, certainly in terms of the heifers created and the bulls. So, you know, that objective was to try and develop some really good families, and at the same time breed bulls for the AI industry, or hey, for LIC's stable, and we've been doing that, which is great. So in terms of that history, like I said, it's been 20 years. 2004-5 was the very first year, and it was really quite different back then. So it was what we called an open-ended nucleus herd. So essentially we were targeting around that 30, 35 elite in-calf heifers to come to one location. And the idea there was, look, let's put them all in the same environment. Let's herd test them monthly, measure live weight. They were TOP'd, health traits measured, etc., etc. So, yeah, we were really just trying to understand, look, let's put them in one environment and let's see the cream rise to the top. And within that program, there were various options. So there were certain benefits, but for those very elite animals that really performed, there was the opportunity for reproductive to enter a reproductive platform, and that was mowed in the early days, and then TVR. So we had 4 years of this this project down in Canterbury with John and Joanne Van Poalen. Then we moved it up to John and Wendy's, Lightburn and the Manawatu. And then the last 3 came up to the Waikato at the Mosses. So over that 9 years, yeah, it was really interesting, and just pulling some of that data apart, etc. And I think it was really interesting for the breeders just to see how their genetics were performing in a different herd against other breeder animals. But once we got to kind of that 2013, I guess we, LIC, were doing a lot more work with yearling heifers, with TVR in the main, 95% of it. And we saw an opportunity to align, really. And, I guess, you all know that the yearling heifers should be genetically some of your very best. So the focus was, rightio, let's move away from those older animals and bring these young ones in, and use TVR IVP. Now, I'm not sure who's even on. Everybody may well be aware of the process, but I just thought I'd put this on this particular slide. So it's kind of its 2-stage thing where the TVR is the collection process of the immature eggs or the oocytes. So it's non-surgical. So those eggs or those oocytes are taken out, and then the IVP process where those immature eggs are fertilized in a petri dish. Those are cultured for 7 days, and successful embryos are then transferred fresh, or you can just freeze them down, and that allows you to put them in when time suits. So, yeah, I guess we've always over time budgeted for kind of 2 embryos per session. It varies big time. It really has over time. We get some well-grown heifers in that produce nothing. At the other extreme, some go bonkers. Yeah, it's interesting when you start playing with biology. So the current program, heifers in the main, they'll come to a donor centre, and more recently this has been at Wendy and David Harker's up here in the Waikato, and fair to say they've been doing a fantastic job, really have. We talked to breeders and they've been getting their heifers home, really happy. So we'll look to continue that relationship. If anything, we might try and get some more heifers there, because if we compare the donor centres that we have been dealing with, we'll certainly put Harkers at the top. So doing a great job. There may be some heifers that can stay home. Now, it's not always achievable, because it is about resource. And if an outfit's going to turn up on farm to collect oocytes from a heifer, then they're going to want a whole lot more than 1 or 2 heifers to make it worth their while. But there are situations where that is happening, and Michael and Cherie and other breeders down Southland are actually making that work really well. So initially with TVR, this process, it was ABS. More recently, last 3 years now, Vitelli have come in to the sector, and they have been doing more and more of the work. I will say here, it's, I guess, hot off the press. There's certainly rumours out there, but the understanding is that ABS won't be continuing in their current format this year and beyond. So we're just learning what that looks like. But at this stage, it's looking like Vitelli will be doing the vast majority, if not all, of the TVR. Now, that's not a bad thing if we look at the results from the last couple of years, certainly last year, we averaged across Discovery and the other work that we facilitate, it was slightly over 3.5 embryos per session, which is excellent. We still need to see that through because everyone will agree it's great producing embryos, but it's actually about live calves on the ground at the other end, and that's key. And we're really keen to be monitoring these probably a whole lot better than has been monitored in the industry. So there's also the opportunity, and it has happened year to year, where particular breeders may want to use Mowit instead of TVR, and that's fine. Because at the end of the day, what the program says is if you're in here, then you need to use the provider of your choice. So we certainly make sure that does occur. Yeah, I guess just a couple of points there around utilising heifers. It is about accelerating genetic gain. And if you think about the breeded model, then generation interval plays a really big part in that. So if we're using the youngest heifers and using the youngest bulls, then the foot just goes down a little bit harder on that pedal. So there is the opportunity to be creating multiple bulls and heifers in one season. I make a point there around embryo biopsying within the program. There hasn't really been use made of this, but it's not to say that won't happen in the future. It's a technology that is there. We're certainly using it with some of within our other breeding programs, but it is a technology that can be of use for sure. Mainly happy to take questions as we go or at the end. You just sing out. Just run through the process. How do these heifers get selected? So nominations are requested that would have already gone out. We also work with the office there, and we will share a list of potential contract heifers. Now, these are heifers that we will approach breeders for to contract mate. So we're able to share those for members only, and there's an opportunity for Holstein Friesian New Zealand to also contact them direct. So that notification highly likely to go out sometime this week, I believe. So in March, there is a Discovery Project Committee, and we will meet, and of all those nominated animals, a shortened list will be created, and the focus there is to make sure all these heifers are genomically screened. Now, a growing bunch of them will already be genomically screened, but for those that aren't, we will organise to get a tissue sample and at our cost get that through and get a genomic evaluation, and that'll be uploaded as per normal. So once all those genomics are back and we can compare all the heifers, we will meet again in May and finalise the final group, if you like, and notification given. And I guess, probably at both of those meetings, I've just put some of the criteria we go through, and this is not a limited list, but certainly, there is a focus on BW, without a doubt. Production BVs are really important. We don't want high BW just because of small live weight and no milk. That's not the kind of efficiency that we're looking for. So it is about good production BVs, a history of fertility, longevity, and definitely classifications and confirmation BVs. So we're very focused in that space. And where we can, if there's something a bit more diverse or has potential for polled, that's certainly another box to tick. So, like I say, this is not an exhaustive list. And I like the fact that we sit around the table. We won't always agree, which is good. So we get some diversity in there.
Just, Simon, do you know off the top of your head what, because there's a minimum BW, isn't there, for Discovery?
Oh, not per se. No, like I say, if there's something that's a bit lower and it happens to be diverse and polled, we may give it a go. Yeah. That said, as we join the meetings, we will have a better idea once we get to that point, Amelia, that this is kind of our average contract mating BW, so that can give us a guide, which is a fair call.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like I say, those selections are made, and then those animals will be transported in the main up here to the Waikato to Wendy and David's, and TVR begins. And hopefully a bunch of embryos are created. Again, some of the stuff is on the website actually. So just thought I'd spell out some of the benefits of the program. Along with creating a bunch of extra animals, hopefully, and opportunities for bulls to be purchased. Any genomic evaluations that comes at LIC's cost, so the tissue sampling, the genomic testing, and uploading that information. Important to note that certainly there's no breeding restrictions. So any females created out of this program, they are 100% yours. Obviously, the bulls that are created, we get first crack. And yes, clause 62 sits there. I mean, that goes without saying, but certainly around the females, no breeding restrictions. I guess with that genomic screening comes parentage, comes defect testing. We have negotiated over this time discounted TVR for the program. There is discounted classification of 2-year-olds for the home herd. Access to the very best young bulls. So our yearling bulls will only be made available to the sire proving herds and via contract mating nowadays. So none of them are marketed. And for the home herd, free custom mate. So that certainly adds up across an average size herd now. And obviously there's going to be bull calves on the ground. They'll go through the normal process of being genomically screened, and in November of each year they will be evaluated like every other bull, and if they're successful, then our standard remuneration applies. Additional to that is a royalty that's paid to Holstein Friesian New Zealand. Last couple of slides here. Just thought I'd give you a little snapshot of what's happened over these years, and it was quite exciting. Yeah, way back from that very first year, we had a bull called Jasper come through and graduate. So we weren't marketing genomic bulls in those days, obviously. So he was created from the first year, and when he came through, he graduated into premier size, into nominated. So that was brilliant. Throughout the other 9 years, there were other bulls that were marketed, but he was certainly the highlight of the open nucleus herd era, if you like. Then when we changed to the yearling program since 2013, so those earliest bulls were 2015 codes, if that makes sense. We've purchased 63 bulls that have gone, well, we've actually purchased more than that, but 63 bulls have made their way through sire proving. There's another 3 purchased this year that will go through the following year. And that table there just shows you some of the INSEM numbers. So look, it totals nearly 500,000, but to be honest, that includes all the sire proving as well for the other bulls. But I've just narrowed it down to those that were marketed as genomic bulls, could be genomic plus daughter proven, and some pretty decent numbers there. And I think it's fair to say we've been a little unlucky in some as well. So, just look at the top there. Tony and Cherie's bull, Samba, Trinonco Samba. He would have made at least another year in premier size and added to that tally big time, but we lost him. So there have been some disappointing losses through this process, and that happens. But I actually, just before we got on, I added that group up, and I think there were 23 bulls. So of the 63 that we have progeny tested, that's about 40% have actually returned to market. Some smaller numbers, but I think that's a pretty decent strike rate. And on the other side, other females. So this here is the number of heifers we had each year. So we started off pretty slow with 10. To be honest, I can't remember what happened in 2016. Yeah, it's an interesting one. But more importantly, the last column there is, I've forgotten about the AI mating. Just said, look, of those 10 in that first year, how many resulting ETs were born the following year? So you can see, so there's some better years than others, and a lot of that comes down to did we have good TVR results? Did we have good hold rates, etc., etc.? There will be fluctuations, but it's great to see that. These are all additional heifers that otherwise wouldn't be on the ground, and just to note there that it is pleasing that we see repopulation of Discovery. So Michael and Cherie, Tony and Cherie, Robert Bruin, long-standing supporters, and we see that repopulation happening, which is really neat. So on that note, it's probably a good segue to pass over to you, Cherie and Mike, unless there's questions, of course.
No one's putting their hand up. So everyone's stunned in silence. So Cherie, do you and Mike just want to tell us just what you like about the Discovery project and the benefits that you guys have seen in the time you've been doing it?
Yeah, I really enjoy the genomic side, and over the years that we've been doing it, the genomic information we've been getting, we place quite a lot of value on that. So
more so over the years. We didn't trust it a lot to start with. Wasn't that great? It's a lot better now than what it used to be.
But really what it is, if the data comes through now and genomics say it's going to be pretty hot, it's pretty hot. And we're pretty confident in that. And it hasn't really disappointed now. So we really enjoy our cows. So we and this is fun for us. Obviously a bit of a business as well, but generally always milking, so it's always pleasing to see the nice results. You're always going to get average results as well, but I think at the end of the day, when you've got more opportunities to create more daughters and bulls from a particular cow or families, you just got more chance of just creating a higher level for the next year. And the more numbers you have on the ground, the more chances of getting better. And it's just amazing to see. We've had a real crap year down here in Southland, and a bit of an
understatement of the universe.
But it's really amazing. These high genetic mirrored animals, man, shit, they can handle some pain, and they just keep firing through. So and get back in calves. So it's just yeah, pretty amazing to see the results. So yeah, no, we just enjoy it, and yeah, do recommend it. Yeah, it's just, but it's a yeah. Some years you just have a look at the genomics and they're probably not as good as what you'd like, and other years you just get some real big real great ringers. So it's just you just got to take into account that yeah, not every animal is going to be your star, but you do create better opportunities of getting the real good ones. So yeah, that's real cool.
And lots of them, like Simon said, a lot of extra daughters that we've got. That our first one was Starstruck. She's 2015, I think she was on it, and the number of animals that we've got because she did Discovery, and we got 3 daughters from her, and all of them ended up being contract cows, and I think all 3 of them actually went into Discovery. And so the family's just growing so huge from year after year of being able to do that and have more go through. And actually, I think the 3 that we've got in this year are actually all not related to her, which is quite different. But that's where Discovery Project's good, is it gives that opportunity for those ones that might not quite be the ones that LIC are hunting you down for, but they're just behind it, is that if you put them forward, they're the ones that they then see are there that you think are good, that they get a look in, and end up being able to grow some more families and get some more heifers and the odd bull, which is great. And Custom Mate Plus is way cheaper than us arguing and getting a divorce. Custom Mate Plus is like an amazing benefit. It's great to have it, and even though we find it very easy to disagree with Custom Mate, so the 2 of us will actually end up saying no, Custom Mate's wrong on that one, and we'll quite easily agree on a different bull for her, but sit the 2 of us down and we'll argue for half an hour about which bull she should have got if Custom Mate hadn't have told us one to start with. So makes that process nice and quick and easy, and being able to fix all your cows and do it how you want. Like, the whole process is you choose the traits you want to make better, and the bulls that you want to use, and Custom Mate lines them up for you, which is nice and easy generally.
So yeah, it helps me win more arguments now, which is good. Yeah.
Have you always done it on farm, or do you send your animals to a donor centre?
Starstruck was the first that we sent away. To
the
Hamilton.
First few years they all went to Hamilton. Yeah.
And then after that.
And then M. bovis came along, and we didn't really want to be sending animals from the bottom of the South Island via about 3 different places on the way up with a truck full of random animals going right through Ashburton, which was where it all was. So that's when we started looking at keeping them down here. And we've had a few different arrangements down here. One year we had so many cows that we were doing along with our Discovery heifers that we managed to get ABS to come in on farm. And then we've worked in with other farmers down here in other years to have the ability to get Vitelli down, which has been great. Haven't got to Berkers, which should be quite fun because they get great results.
So questions come through for you, Simon. Will the number of SNPs be increased over time?
So at the moment, we don't like to talk SNPs, but so at the moment we have the commercial panel at GMark. We also have an R&D panel, and that has more markers on it. To be honest, really, what's it giving us is more around some of that the variants that we're finding, production variants, fertility variants, that sort of stuff. And the concordance between the commercial and the R&D panel it's extremely high. Panels change all the time. So yeah, I can't say when and by how much, but chances are it will.
Cool. So did you mention earlier, Simon, how many flushes you do on the Discovery, like on those heifers?
No, I didn't. Again, that is definitely breeder led. Some breeders may say, look, I can only handle this many embryos. I've only got this many recipients, or my budget is only so big. So the breeder definitely dictates. On average, it's kind of 5 to 6 sessions. And like I say, historically, it's been sort of 2 embryos per session. So on average, 12 embryos is kind of the number. But again, definitely led by the breeder.
You answered most of the questions that I'd written down before this. So it didn't make this
It's
easy
efficient
for me. So I guess the other thing is when it comes to, you mentioned before, Simon, that those kind of your elite genomic young bulls are available. Who makes the final choice on, or like who makes that choice on what ones of those young bulls are being used on these embryos or on these oocytes?
Good call. So we will be working directly with the breeder, and Cherie and Michael can talk to this one. We don't always agree, so that's great. And if we don't, and if the breeder isn't quite happy with that particular bull, we find an alternative. So it's by mutual agreement. Yeah. So what we like to do is stay in touch. The reporting, I think, is better now than it used to be. The likes of Vitelli have I guess it's called a portal. So breeders have access to that at any time. They can go in and see how many oocytes were created, how many embryos resulted 7 days later. And then when we're having that discussion around, look, they're coming up in 2 or 3 days, they've got so many of these particular combinations made. Do we make a change, or do we go again? So yeah, we certainly like to stay in touch closely with the breeder, and again, breeder led.
Yeah, I'd actually say quite breeder led. We've been able to choose lots of things and make lots of requests, and Simon's been very accommodating in all different sorts of random things that we come up with. But yeah, I think with Discovery, ultimately they're still ours, and we end up with the resulting heifers running around and milking them, and it's been great to be able to, we've never felt like we've had to use a bull that we weren't really that keen on. It's always ended up being one that we've wanted, which has been great.
I think you made the most important comment there, Cherie, in that it's you get the heifers, you get the female progeny, and you need to milk them. So
Yeah.
they need to be animals that you want to milk if it is a female. Yes.
We don't want to milk the bulls, no.
No, but like the type that you want to milk was what I meant. Another question here, possibly more for you, Cherie and Mike. How many traits can custom-mate focus on per cow or bull?
That's an LIC question. I think off the top of my head, it's 9 or 10. And you rank them in order of your preference, and you give them a score each. Like if you pick fertility for some reason, you can give it a score of between 1 and 10 as to how much you want it weighted, and then you can pick your next trait. So you can pick, and I think it is 9 traits that you can pick and weight them between 1 and 10, and whether you want to increase them or decrease them. So like, live weight or stature, you might actually be trying to decrease or increase, but you choose that as well and put all of that in, and it comes out with a lovely list of 2 first choice and second choice for every cow, and it does all the inbreeding and genes and all of that stuff for you as well.
Simon?
Nothing to add. Bang on. Yeah, I think the nice thing about it is you can play around. First iteration doesn't look quite right, well, you can tweak particular traits until you're happy. So yeah, it's pretty flexible.
And you can actually split the herd as well. So if you happen to have more than one breed in your herd and you want one breed to go one way and another breed to go the other way, or if you want to take out the bottom end of the herd and just go beef, they can work and customate around that and do different groups different ways. If you've got some overseas genetics that you want to make sure they all go to New Zealand bulls, you can do that. And there's heaps of stuff. You can definitely customize it to what you want to get out of it.
Yeah. So what's really helped, especially for the Holston Friesian, is we do TOP all our heifers every year, and so we actually get it's not sentimental. That's the numbers. It's the true numbers, and then we can see over the years whether the traits that we're looking at, are they getting better or are they getting worse? So everything's, so we do enjoy that aspect of it as well. So that's good.
And the last couple of years, you guys have been weighing at your TOP as well. So you're also getting your live weight data accurate as well.
Well, it's really important. I still think a lot of people are weighing enough, and probably gutted on some of the BW changes. Actually, the funny thing is with weighing is the total, the average of the heifer line doesn't change in BW at all. Like, it's still the same. It's just that all the rankings change. And Cherie, we're putting on our jerseys, and obviously they might be a little bit lighter than they thought, and so their numbers go up, and then my Friesians go on, and they might be a little bit heavier than they thought, and my numbers go down. So, but that doesn't happen all the time. But it's just interesting. Everything when that weight data goes in, it just makes it more correct. And then going forward, we've just got more information going forward to how to correct what we need to do. So it's good.
But I think the biggest thing with actually the weights, one weight makes such a difference, and especially with the overseas genetics, is that the conversion from a US proof to a New Zealand proof, don't have experience with other countries, but sometimes they think that a bull's going to be massive and the daughters actually aren't. So weighing them puts their BW way up, whereas other ones, they're right, he actually is 130 kilos. But just getting that one weight in makes a huge difference to the quality of the data you're looking at.
Yeah, and as Cherie saying, it helps the industry too, because it gets more daughter numbers for the bulls. So to make that more reliable too. Yeah. And
you've got good facilities, so it's really easy to do it.
Not quite.
a lot of shoulder work actually, but anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, when I was there the other year, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, they kind of just walk on really. They're quite cruisy really, but yeah.
You've got lovely quiet cows, so it makes the job easy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
As I said, people, please fire through any questions that you have, because I will come to a point where I don't have any more. So I guess we should possibly cover a little bit around the costs involved. There's a lot of things that you said are free, Simon, which is awesome, but there are still costs around that flushing. You're muted. There we go.
Yeah, no, good call. Yep, nothing comes for free. So I guess all I can work with is last year's numbers from Vitali, which was $3.95 per embryo created. We'll be pushing for that to stay the same, but hey, let's see where we get to.
And is that only the grade A embryos with Vitali though?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that's $3.95, $80 to implant. And then there's going to be travel to do that as well. So obviously in most situations, it would be one trip to implant all embryos in most situations. In terms of the donor facility at Wendy and David's there, I've been working on about that $450. Now that involves a whole bunch actually, which is 12 weeks grazing. And like I say, they go home really well. All the pre-entry testing, all the vaccinations, M-Bovis testing, TB, the works. So really it's kind of gold standard there. And then there is you know, depending on where the heifers are, Amelia, there's going to be some transport as well. Yeah.
And I guess you mentioned implants. What are the animals that you put it in? Most people using their own animals back at home, or is the option there for animals? I know that if you use ABS, quite often ABS can do it on farm there. What are your options?
Yep. So the vast majority will go home to the breeders' herds. Most are going in milk cows. I think it's, you know, kind of widely accepted. If there's the ability to put them in dry cows, then the hold rates on average are going to be better. But not everyone has those lying around. Some have gone into beef, which are pretty good results as well. In terms of recipient facilities, Bellevue does still exist. So Bellevue is quite separate from ABS, different business. And they are operating beef recipients there, and dairy as well. They did go out of dairy for a couple of years, but they've come back, I believe. And up here at Waikato, there's a opportunity, which kind of gets sucked up pretty quickly, to be honest, at Emma and Chris Pools. I think there might be a couple hundred recips here that they've been working with. So at the moment, those are the only kind of off-farm options. Most are going back to the breeder herd. Yeah.
Mike and Cherie, do yours go back home?
They do now. We have used Bellevue before. We used them for a couple of years, and they reared the calves. Obviously, we're a bit far away to send them before they're weaned, so they reared them to 100 kilos and then sent them home. And we never had any issues with it. It worked quite well, but again, M. bovis came along, and we didn't really want to be trucking animals down the country at the time, so we generally just put them in the herd into generally milking cows, and if we have got carryovers, we put them into there. And against popular trend, our carryovers don't hold on to them any better than what our in-milk cows do. But a lot of recipients come down to preparation and making sure they're in good condition, they're well fed, all the mineral status is right, they don't have any health problems, they calve well, they've calved every year, their age. There's a huge list that comes out as to who the best ones are. And I think when we look at hold rates, the ones that tick every one of those boxes are the ones that tend to hold better, and the ones that we've kind of tried to, you know, get in there that probably shouldn't have been a recipient in the first place are less likely to hold. So there's all of that to consider. But yeah, the options off farmer, we've used some before and they've been fine as well.
I guess the other thing that a lot of people consider is you are flushing young animals that have not been in calf before. From your view, Mike and Cherie, how successful has it been getting those animals in calf in the future? As you know, a lot of people have the belief that it can make them infertile and hard for them to get in calf. So how have you found that when those animals come back to your place after their flushing has been completed?
I think out of all the TVR we've done, not just Discovery, all the TVR we've done on yearlings, which has been quite a few over the years, I can recall 2 that haven't got in calf. One of them had scarring on her ovaries, and actually the other one we don't know, but I can only think of 2.
And so from our point, those are real good odds. So
I think that Moat's quite different, and I think that it probably gave the whole industry a bad rap for yearlings. That with the Moet, I think they say about 25% of Moated yearlings end up not conceiving that first year, but I don't think that TBR has anywhere near that bad in odds. And the other thing as well is that the majority of our TBR yearlings we bring home for AB, and we don't have any bulls on farm, so they're all conceiving to AB as well. They haven't got a bull there helping out, so it's not something that would worry me. There's always a risk, but every yearling that you've got, you can pick anyone out of the paddock and there's a chance she's going to be empty along with the rest of them. So I don't think that the ones that we've had, one of them may not have been anything to do with TBR. The other one was definitely a result of it. But I think that was a bit of an anomaly more than anything else.
Yeah.
Simon, would you agree with those results, like nationwide, that they sit around about that kind of pretty low risk?
Yeah. I always, if I'm talking to people that are new, say, look, any intervention is intervention. There's a risk. There was a point in time, Richmond, when that was where the empty rate was higher, and ABS, so it was just ABS at that time. They made some changes, and two of the big changes they made was a smaller probe, so easier on the heifer. Well, three things really. There was that, rather than do them weekly, went out to every second week, just give them more of a rest. And I think at the time there was a point where, look, if there was a little bit of abrasion or whatever, they'd just keep going. So the learning's been, look, if there's anything like that, just tie-ho. So certainly recent years have been, really good, really good.
Cool. So I just have one question left, and I left it till last because it's a little bit about discovery and a little bit about the new program that LIC has started with Holstein Friesian New Zealand, which is called Holstein Innovation. And I just wondered, Simon, if you could give very briefly just like a couple of differences between the two programs. Just, Holstein Innovation is slightly different. It doesn't involve an embryo or a TVR program. It's all just through AI. But if Simon can just think off the top of his head, it's a new program and it's both males and females, but just a little bit of the difference between the females.
Yeah. So you say there's no ET involved, but we certainly we're considering bulls for the program that come from AI or ET. I guess some of the focus around this one was, and we can do it via discovery, but are there potential animals that we could tap into that are a little bit more diverse? So it's going to give the opportunity for potentially something different. So these animals the bulls will be purchased as per normal. We SIA approve them. So effectively, we're giving up space within the SIA approving scheme for these. And in some cases, we'll just be willing to trade off a little bit. I think this year, Melly, it's fair to say that, things got squeezed in terms of timing. So we'll be able to share a whole lot more and be more proactive in this one for this coming year. And just get a whole lot more information out there.
And so the female program should be up and running soon, asking for nominations once discovery has closed, if I am correct in this.
That's right. And we'll look to provide free genomic screening in that space as well. Contract mating, access to the young bulls again. Yeah.
So for those that might be a little bit more wary about doing flushing work or not be keen on doing flushing work, it's another way to kind of get in with the programs with LIC and a contract mate if you've got a little bit more diverse genetics, correct?
Yep. Well done.
Awesome. So I'll just open up again if anyone's got any last minute questions. Simon's got another meeting to get to, so I don't want to hold him up. So anything else from anybody? No, you guys just had to listen to me ask questions for you.
Well done.
Okay, well, I did great making it up on the fly. So I just want to thank Cherie, Mike, and Simon for giving up your time again this evening. Simon, you gave us a really, really good outline of what discovery is. That's why half my questions got answered, which was good for me. That's great. And Cherie and Mike, it's great to see people seeing the benefits out of the programs that we're running and continuing to use them. So thank you for giving us your inputs as well. So as I said before, so this will be available on our YouTube. So if you want to go back and get clarification on something that Simon said or something out of his slides, you're welcome to go and have a look at this on our YouTube. Otherwise, thank you all for taking part tonight. I'll let you get to the rest of your evening. Oh,
Thank you.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.